What's good, everybody? Welcome back to one of the final 2024 draft videos of the year. And we got some draft grades. Obviously, this is instant reaction, kind of gut reaction to everything that these teams did, their classes, the value at what all these players, where they picked them, and what I think the value is, and also what they actually got out of this class. Did they get starters? Did they get bench, special teamers, depth, whatever it was, all factored in. Obviously, starting here with the Cardinals. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who came out to the live stream for the first round, night one of the draft. I know there were a lot of technical difficulties on my end, so hopefully next time we do that, it's a lot cleaner, a lot smoother. But yeah, let's get right into it. Starting with the Arizona Cardinals, like I said, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Darius Robinson open up the first round for the Cardinals, and obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. absolute home run hit, in my opinion. You get my player two overall in this class. Some people even had him as the number one overall player in this class at 4. So you got to feel pretty good about that one. And then Darius Robinson, they have him listed as an edge out of Missouri. I would just list him as a defensive lineman. He has a ton of versatility. 6'5", 285 pounds, I believe, almost 290. Super versatile. Has really elite length when you look at the numbers. Really good athleticism. Showed a lot of power at the Senior Bowl. He was basically unguardable at the Senior Bowl. So I think at 27, good value. They need more pass rush help, and they definitely got it with Darius Robinson. And then day 2, you get Max Melton, Trey Benson, Isaiah Adams. Sorry, really like that from the Cardinals. I think you get some really good starters along with some depth pieces. You look at Tip Ryman as well, and that one's a little more questionable. But overall, you do get a blocking tight end out of it. You already have Trey McBride, who's your top receiving option in the tight end room. So maybe you wanted that better blocker, bigger body type guy, which you do get in Tip Ryman. I really like Elijah Jones, Dadrian Taylor Demerson for this class, Xavier Thomas as well. I think they got some really good depth and value with those selections, along with Christian Jones out of Texas. You get a tackle for the future for whenever DJ Humphries might go down or even just retire. You don't know with the injury history that he's had. So I really like this class for Arizona. I think some of their better picks come in that 3rd to 5th range with guys like Elijah Jones and Taylor Demerson, Xavier Thomas, who we just went over. But a guy like Xavier Thomas, 5-star recruit out of high school, he might have even been the number 1 player out of high school, has all the athletic tools that you would want in an edge rusher. He's got the size, just hasn't had the production at Clemson. So I think Jonathan Gannon obviously showed in Philly that he could get a lot out of his edge rusher, so hopefully he can get a lot out of Xavier Thomas because he's got the talent. But overall, I'd give this class probably an A-, maybe an A. I'll give it an A. I think they got a lot out of this class. Trey Benson in the 3rd round, it was really good value. Just they got a lot of good players in this class. Moving on to Atlanta, and maybe the most controversial pick of the first round, and maybe even the draft. Michael Penix Jr. goes to 8. And I know they said they're trying to follow the Green Bay model, but to me, this is not the Green Bay model. They took Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, 25, 26th overall. You don't take a quarterback at 8 just to not play him until he's almost 28 years old. Because Penix is going to be 24 going into the rookie season. Kirk Cousins, obviously coming off the Achilles injury. Yes, it's not as important because he plays quarterback, but it definitely still is going to affect mobility and how he throws off of that heel and leg. I don't see a reason why you would come out and say that there isn't a quarterback battle going into camp. There should be. Absolutely. You can't have a guy, because by the time you get to this dude's 5th-year contract extension, if you want to pick it up or not, he's going to be 28 years old. Like, you got to start him now. You have to. Maybe not like the first half of the season, but if the Falcons aren't winning, Penix has to come in. You have to see what you have. I know you paid $100 million to Kirk Cousins, but you have now put yourself in a position to where, for one, Kirk and his team sounds not happy, to say the least. And you're also going to have a rookie quarterback who's probably not going to want to sit for that long because, I mean, the dude's played, 6 years in college? He's got a ton of experience. He definitely has the arm talent. Or not arm talent, but arm strength. Accuracy still a little bit of an issue. I think you can clean that up, though. But, man, you created Raheem Morris and whoever the GM is, I forget his name. They've created a little bit of a situation on their hands down in Georgia. But for the rest of the class, I really like their second, third, and fourth round picks. The later round, 5th through 6th, kind of just meh. Some decent value. I like Jace McClellan. I think he has really good contact balance. But they needed defensive line help, and they absolutely got it with Trice, Dorless, and Orhorhoro out of Clemson. I'm just going to call him Rook. But I really like all of their upside. Braylon Trice had a ton of production, probably the most out of any of those guys. Dorless and Rook have a really good size along with athletic tools that you can develop. So overall, though, I would probably give this a B- to a C+. Not like, if Penix plays this year, it would definitely be higher. But it's the fact that you paid Kirk so much money and then to go out and get him at 8. It's not like you got a quarterback that fell to 30 and you traded back up because you want the 5th year. And he's 21 years old coming out of high school or college. Sorry. Very, very different circumstances. Baltimore Ravens, one of the most consistent teams when drafting. Always get good class in Baltimore. Starting with Nate Wiggins. Super, super good cover corner out of Clemson. Really good size. Just needs to work on tackling and probably needs to build up a little more muscle coming in at 173. But, I mean, he seems like a really good fit for that Baltimore defense. They needed more secondary depth. And they also got another really, good-sized corner in TJ Tampa, who I think fits that defense really well. But I think their best pick might be one of these two guys in Adisa Isaac and Devontae Walker. I really like Adisa Isaac's upside along with Tez Walker. And I don't think Tez Walker should have fallen that far. Maybe it was the drops at the Senior Bowl. I'm not really sure. But he's still a really, really athletic guy. Showed a lot of consistency on tape. Can instantly come in and be a deep threat for the Ravens. So I think that's a really, really good pick. He's going to make an instant impact, in my opinion, his rookie year. But Roger Rosengarten, he'll come in and be a Morgan Moses replacement. So I really like this class. You got some more running back depth in Rasheen Ali out of Marshall. Devin Leary, you get your backup quarterback because I believe Huntley left this year or his contract is coming up. So get a little bit younger in your backup quarterback room. Don't have to pay as much money, which is the way you want to keep it. But overall, this is a really, really good class from Baltimore. They got some good value like they always do, seems like, and got some really, really talented players. I would give this an A, honestly. The Ravens, they just hit it on the head every single year. Buffalo Bills. Now, this is another controversial one, depending on if you're a fan of the Bills or not. Obviously, they traded with the Chiefs, conference rival, biggest threat to you not getting to the Super Bowl. You trade with them, allow them to get Xavier Worthy. But I think you have to remember, all these teams have draft boards and where they would draft guys, and people will be like, why didn't you draft Xavier Worthy? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Yes, you could say that, but Xavier Worthy probably falls to 32 anyway for the Chiefs. I don't think a team ahead of them would have taken him unless it was probably either Dallas or San Francisco, but I don't think they would take him. Um, maybe the Ravens, but I think they still would have gone corner. Uh, but like, if you don't have Worthy that high on your board, and you think you can get a guy like Keon Coleman later with trading back, and you can also pick up some other draft capital, which they did, why not? They still got their guy in Keon Coleman with the first pick on day 2. I think Keon Coleman's a fantastic player out of Florida State, obviously formerly of Michigan State. Yes, ran a 4.61 combine 40 time. I am not concerned with that at all. When you look at the film, he plays much faster than that. You look at the line drill at the combine where he was, I think, the fastest receiver there running the drill. Really, really good hands. Some of the strongest hands in this class, if not the best hands. Can definitely work on route running, but he will come in and be the Bills' X receiver without a doubt. Day 1 can be your red zone threat as he develops the route running and the nuances of getting separation in the NFL. I really like Keon Coleman. I think that's a good pick for Buffalo, along with Cole Bishop and Dwayne Carter. Dwayne Carter, one of my favorite picks of this class, really high upside, I think, out of Duke. And next to Ed Oliver is going to be a scary duo on the inside of that defense. And of course, Cole Bishop, they need secondary help. Poyer and Hyde were, I think, injured the majority of the season, if not all of it. Definitely Hyde. And they just need secondary help, man. I don't think they brought back Poyer. Didn't he go down to like Miami or something? And Micah Hyde's still a free agent, I'm pretty sure. So they needed him bad, and they also got Daquan Hardy that some people think might be able to play safety. Can definitely play in the nickel at slot at 5'9". And then you get a pretty athletic linebacker in is it Ulo Foshio? I really like him. I think that was good value. Really good value with Van Pran Granger as well out of Georgia. Thought he would have gone in the top like 125 picks, to be honest, and he fell to the 5th round. So really good value there. And I also love Ray Davis. Like, you can't tell me wrong with Ray Davis. Like, he is really good out of the backfield as a receiver. He has good vision. Yes, a little bit undersized, but I think in the Bills' offense behind James Cook is a really good backup for them. So I really like this Bills class. They got a lot of draft capital. They filled a lot of needs. I honestly would give this a B+ for Buffalo. Carolina Panthers, they went out and got Bryce Young some weapons. Starting with Xavier Legette, they traded one spot back in to the first round from 33 to 32 with the Bills. Get their guy who they told apparently they were going to take if he was there, and they stuck to that. So good on them for that. Legette, I'm not completely in love with him. Obviously, if you watch my top 50 big board, he was not on that for specific reasons. I don't think his route running and separation ability is that great. However, if you get the ball in his hands, he can fly. Absolutely fly. It is hard to bring this man down as well. He will run right through you. And also, can we stop with like the DK Metcalf comparisons? Because he's not DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is 6'4", like 230 something pounds, and ran a 4.28 or whatever the hell it was. This is 6'1", 221 pounds. This is more of an AJ Brown comparison. So calm down with the DK Metcalf stuff. Yes, the play styles are similar because of the deep threat ability and their speed, but much closer in like physical size to AJ Brown. And AJ Brown, he's got some speed to him as well. So don't forget about that. But Xavier Legette, really good pick. They needed receiving talent, and they got it. You have your separator in Deontay Johnson and also Adam Thielen, crafty veteran receiver who can get open. So, and then you add 2 Texas guys and Jonathan Brooks coming off the ACL and Jatavion Sanders, another guy, get the ball in his hands and he can make things happen. So I really like those 2 picks. Hopefully Jonathan Brooks can come off the ACL and still be just as effective, because he was probably the best running back in college football before he went down. Like the broken tackles, the speed, the explosiveness, like everything he's got. Hopefully it comes back. He's still only 21, 22 years old. Hopefully he can bounce back and be just fine because he is a fantastic player. I like Trevin Wallace. This is your Frankie Louisville replacement. Is not going to play the mic. He will be on that weak side, but he's got good coverage ability. I think he definitely can be used as a blitzer and probably at a pretty effective rate as well. So I like that pick. And of course, I love my boy Showski going here. Go Cougs, baby. Washington State represent. Shao Smith Wade. Probably going to be a slot corner, but you lose Dante Jackson. You get Shao Smith Wade in return in the 5th round. I think that's really good value. And I like Jaden Crumedy in the 6th, along with Michael Barrett to just shore up some depth on the D line, or the front 7, I should say. But Crumedy next to Derek Brown actually should be a pretty good duo. Crumedy at the Senior Bowl looked pretty nice. I think he was at the Senior Bowl, wasn't he? Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. But he's shown good production at Mississippi State. Mississippi State obviously has put out some pretty good defensive tackles in recent history. So, but yeah, this Carolina class, they did what they needed to do. They signed offensive linemen in free agency to protect Bryce Young. You get him weapons here in the draft. Keep them on cheaper contracts. I like this class, man. I think they got good value. They got good players just in general. I would give this an A-. On to the Chicago Bears, who got the number 1 pick from Carolina, and they went Caleb Williams, to no one's surprise. Generational quarterback prospect, in my opinion. And they match him up with Rome Odunze, who they don't even have to trade for. They get him at 9. Unbelievable. That's one of the biggest steals of the draft, I have a feeling. And I know it's at 9, but he was my 6th overall player, and he could have for sure gone 5th or 6th in this draft. I mean, you don't have Keenan Allen past this year. Rome Odunze can do everything for you. He can separate. He can go deep. Don't forget about the speed that this dude has. He has some real speed. I know the 4.47 combine doesn't scream it, but his double moves, he's crafty. Obviously, he can go up and get it with anyone. Like, the dude is not a 50-50 ball. It is 100-0 with Rome Odunze, and I will continue to say that. That will translate immediately. And then you look farther down the class, you look at Kieran Amagaji out of Yale, a little bit of a project tackle. Maybe he swings inside to guard, but has good length, has good size to play out at tackle. Maybe you don't think Braxton Jones can actually be your future left tackle. Maybe it's Amagaji, but they needed offensive line depth just in general. So I think that's a good get at in the 3rd round. And then Torrey Taylor out of Iowa in the 4th, I think is a little bit questionable. I wouldn't personally take a punter in the 4th round, but that's why I'm not an NFL scout, GM, whatever it is. He is a really good punter, though. I will 100% give him that. And maybe they just were thinking this as like, you know what? We've hit everything in free agency, or we can go sign some undrafted free agent guys that can fill in other holes. Let's get a punter with our last pick. But it wasn't their last pick. They actually traded back in to the 5th round and got Austin Booker, edge rusher out of Kansas, which I think this might be the best value pick of their entire class. And I know I just said everything that I did about Rome Odunze, but 6'5", 240, really productive at Kansas, has good length, has good athletic ability. I mean, it says it right here. Very impressive flashes on tape. He just needs to be a little bit more consistent. And I think learning and being across from Montez Sweat, who's going to create a lot of attention, along with Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens in the middle. Austin Booker on the other side is a very good depth piece who might grow into something more. So I really like this class from the Bears, even though it's literally just 5 picks. But I would give this an A. You got your future quarterback in Caleb Williams, future number 1 wide receiver probably in Rome Odunze, and maybe a future tackle and really solid edge player. So I like it. On to Cincinnati, who had a plethora of picks. I think they had like 11, about maybe 10. But to start it all off, two big, big, meaty boys in the trenches with Amarius Mims and Chris Jenkins. They finally get Joe Burrow some help in the draft. It took him a while, but they finally did it. You got to protect that man, dude. Joe Burrow, when he's out there, one of the best quarterbacks in this league. And you might have just drafted what could be one of the best tackles in the league. Dude stands at 6'8", 340, mammoth of a human being, and has a lot of athleticism and length to back it up. He could seriously develop into the best tackle out of anyone in this class. And Chris Jenkins as well. He could end up being the best defensive tackle in this draft. Like, I truly believe that his athletic ability matched with his size. Like, he's just got to be a little more consistent in the pass rush. He can already play the run really well. Maybe not to the extent of Amazi Smith when he was coming out last year, but still plays the run pretty well. And he's got some pass rush moves. And he just needs to develop them a little bit more. But my goodness, he's got everything that you would want in a defensive tackle. That was really good value, actually. He was like the 5th defensive tackle that went off the board. He went after Tavondre Sweat and Orhoro. So kind of crazy, actually. In the 3rd round, you go and get McKinley Jackson and Jermaine Burton. I like this Jermaine Burton pick. You get your deep threat next to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, who are kind of more of your T. Higgins, obviously your jump ball guy, but he can get separation. Jamar Chase obviously can get separation, and he's really good after the ball is in his hands on the yak. So getting your deep threat who can really stretch the defense in Jermaine Burton, I like that a lot. Then you look to day 3, and Eric All, obviously, really athletic tight end, got injured this past year with the ACL injury. I think he had a neck injury the year prior when he was still at Michigan. So hopefully everything clears, because if it does, this dude is a really, really good athlete and a really good tight end. He was in my top 10 tight end list, and I mentioned a lot about if he's healthy, he's going to be a really productive player. So hopefully that's the case. Josh Newton, probably my favorite value pick here for the Bengals. I really like Josh Newton. I think his length and athleticism can possibly put him as one of the better cornerback 2s in this league. I don't think the tape this year you should put too much stock into, because the year prior he was basically shut down, and then they lost a ton of guys on that defense. So he was just put out on an island and had to deal with it with all those Big 12 receivers. Tanner McLaughlin, so they double up on tight end. I think it's a really good pick. Good blocker. Showed a lot of receiving upside, and then you get some depth pieces in the 7th round. Cedric Johnson as well is a solid pick. But I like this class. You help out Joe Burrow a lot, and you also build in the trenches on the defense. So, honestly, I'd give this an A-. Yeah, the Bengals did a stellar job getting all these pieces in here. I'd give that an A-. On to their in-state rivals, the Cleveland Browns, starting off with Michael Hall Jr. at pick 54, I believe that is, or 55. They had to wait, obviously, till the 2nd round to make their first selection, but they definitely got a pretty good man with their first selection in Michael Hall Jr. Super awesome pass rusher from the interior. A little bit undersized, but actually, no, he's not really that undersized. He's 6'3". I thought he came in at like 6'2", 6'1"-ish at the Senior Bowl. I thought he was a little shorter than that. But you remember the Senior Bowl and you think, man, that spin move had everyone just falling out of their shoes, basically, trying to guard this guy. He was lethal in the one-on-ones. He was pretty solid in the game. I think he has a ton of potential, and with Myles Garrett on the same defensive line as this kid, those two are going to be scary. They need some more interior pressure. And they also get a interior offensive lineman of the future in Zach Zinter. So maybe they think Batonio or not Pocic. I cannot think of the dude's name. Teller. Or no, Wyatt Zeller. Wyatt Teller? Zeller? Wyatt Teller? I think it's one of those two. I think it's Teller though, right? But one of them, maybe they think is gonna possibly leave, or maybe they plan to play Zinter at center. Obviously they announced him as a guard, so that's why I would assume he would be playing. But really, really solid, good leader. Um, Obviously broken leg, final game of the regular season against Ohio State, which really hurt his stock, or else he would have probably gone higher. Um, Solid run blocker, solid pass blocker, just solid all around. The dude can block for you. Then you look to the later rounds, really good depth pieces. Jamari Thrash added to that already stacked receiving room. And then you get Miles Harden, who's one of my favorite players of this class. Uh, Good slot receiver, can develop into probably one of the top slot receivers. I like his quickness and his long speed. He likes to get physical, even though he's, I believe, 5', 5'11". He likes to get physical with you from the tape that I've seen. So I really like that pick. You can never go wrong with secondary depth, and that's what they go for with Miles Harden. So I like this class from the Browns. I I think I would probably give this a B plus, maybe a B. Just like, yeah. On to the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, as a Giants fan, they had yet another solid class, starting with Tyler Guyton, Marshawn Nealon, and Cooper Beebe. So they really shore up their trenches yet again. And Cooper Beebe is such a solid player, man. You can play him all over. Listed him as guard. Um, Maybe you think Tyler Smith can kick out to tackle. Uh, Cooper Beebe could instantly fill his void and be just fine. Tyler Guyton, more of a project. Yes, you could probably start him somewhere in the season this year, but maybe not week one, unless you think he's ready for it. Marshawn Nealon, though, athletic, really, really good size for an edge rusher, can learn behind two of the best in the NFL with Tank Lawrence and Micah Parsons. And then they get Luafau out of Notre Dame. Basically your Leighton Vander Esch replacement. Obviously, he had to retire kind of medically. So that sucks, as I really liked Leighton Vander Esch, man. I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was a really good player, but it is what it is. It sucks for him. Wish him nothing but the best, though. And then you get to the 5th and 6th round, and these are probably two of my favorite picks for the Cowboys, and Kalen Carson and Ryan Flournoy. Kalen Carson, you get another outside receiver. Can play well in zone or man. It doesn't really matter. Flournoy, big physical receiver, has really good athletic traits. Obviously didn't play in the most competitive conference ever, but I think could do some good things and maybe be a sleeper for a week one starter for Dallas, because that receiving room is not that deep. So I like that pick from Dallas and Flournoy. Really good class overall. Again, I hate you, Jerry Jones, but I will give you an A minus. On to the Denver Broncos. And obviously they started with Bo Nix, another controversial quarterback pick here. And I like this more than Michael Penix because you had two teams behind you who you were probably thinking would take Bo Nix, so you can't trade back and be like, oh, we're going to wait for him, because you don't know if you didn't take him, if the Raiders or the Saints would right after you. So they get Bo Nix at 12. You get him on that 5-year contract. I think he fits Sean Payton's offense so well. And then you go out and get his college teammate in Troy Franklin. Can be that deep threat for you that you're now missing. Not missing anymore, though, because the dude can fly. And then you get Jonah Ellis in the 3rd. Really, really just good pass rusher, man. Like, not going to blow you away with athleticism, but is an absolute workhorse and just always produces, it seems like. He's always in the backfield. He's making plays. He can play the run pretty well. So, good pick there. I love Chris Abrams' drain in the 5th. I think he could have gone much higher than that. He probably, though, is projected to play in the slot, so that's why he falls. You get someone inside of Patrick Surtain to play in that slot position. Chris Abrams-Drain is going to fill that and be just fine. And then you get some running back depth with Audric Estime, be your bulldozer, your third, fourth, and one goal line kind of guy. And then you finish it out with Vele and Nick from South Carolina. But I like this class. I know people don't like Bo Nix, but I think, for one, when you compare Penix and Nix, Nix is, I believe, a year younger. He is also not as injury prone. I think he has a better arm and athleticism than Michael Penix. So I think you can bank on those things, and he's much, much more accurate. Like, you look at the Oregon tape, man. I know the Auburn tape's out there, and you have to take that into account. But a much different player at Oregon, was pinpoint accurate, was making plays all over the field. He can use his legs to his advantage. Bo Nix in that Sean Payton offense, watch out, because they are going to be uber efficient, I have a feeling. But I like this class from Denver. I would probably also give this a B+. On to Detroit, and this is a fantastic class. They got value, they got positions of need, they did it all, and it was in their home city. Starting it off with Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, unbelievable value for both of them. A lot of people's cornerback one was Terrion Arnold. Does he play in the slot? Does he play outside? I think he can do both. Ennis Rakestraw can definitely play on the outside with his length and athleticism. Both of those just super, super good picks. And then Giovanni Manu. Not a lot of people probably knew about him. Project tackle, but really high upside. I like that pick because you can sit him behind Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker. And then Sione Vaki, you get some more secondary depth. I would think that you don't play him at running back. He's also listed as a safety, so yeah. And then you get into the trenches yet again with Mekhi Wingo and Christian Mahogany. Mahogany is such good value in the 6th round. I was hoping the Giants would take him. They didn't. Lions take advantage of the other 31 teams that didn't take a chance on Mahogany because I think he has got good athleticism and he's really, really athletic as well for his size. This class is awesome. Hometown heroes, they're going to get an A for this draft. They killed it. And on to their division rival, the Green Bay Packers. They started off with Jordan Morgan, who was also a controversial pick. Not a lot of people, I guess, are educated on Jordan Morgan. I think he's going to be just fine out there at tackle. I obviously heard pre-draft. If you watched my mock draft, I was hearing that Green Bay really wants to get a right tackle and move Zach Tom inside, whether that's at guard or center. Well, they did, to at least not my surprise. And Jordan Morgan is a really good player. He's got athletic upside. Maybe not the best length or size. Maybe he kicks into guard later in his career, or it doesn't work out. His rookie or second year, they kick him into guard. But the Green Bay Packers have really good offensive line development and coaches, so I believe in Jordan Morgan. I believe he was in my top 50. He was like 45, 30 something, somewhere in there from 35 to 45, somewhere in that ballpark. So I love Jordan Morgan. I think that's a fantastic pick. And then we switch to the defensive. Edrin Cooper, Javon Bullard, Tyron Hopper, Evan Williams, Keaton Oladapo. They went crazy in the secondary. They came into this draft basically and they said, you know what? We did poor in coverage last year. Let's fix that. And my God, did they ever. Edrin Cooper might not be your Mike linebacker, but sitting him next to Quay Walker is a fantastic duo. Both of them can just blitz at any time, and they're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to put pressure on. Cooper, fantastic instincts in the run game as well. Though this defense is going to be flying around the field, along with Javon Bullard, who can now play safety next to Xavier McKinney, or maybe you think he can slot in at the nickel corner position. Marshawn Lloyd as well, good pick in the 3rd round. Behind Josh Jacobs, a little bit of a change of pace back there. I would imagine A.J. Dillon probably does not see the field a lot this year. But overall, this class I really like. And then Kalen King in the 7th as well. Like 5 picks before the end of the draft. You get Kalen King, another guy who maybe can play safety or the nickel corner, wherever you really want. I think Kalen King, yes, not the best athlete, but didn't have the best tape either this year. I will 100% admit that. But, I mean, the dude is awesome. I still really like Kalen King. I think this is such a good value pick. He definitely could be a good player in the NFL. But overall, I think I would give this probably an A minus. I know we've had a lot of A's and A minuses, but there's so many good classes, and this is another one in Green Bay. The Houston Texans might also be up there in the conversation for A minus or A. They started off with Kamari Lassiter and Blake Fisher in the 2nd round. Lassiter, top 50 player for me. I absolutely love his fit in this Houston defense. Aggressive, instinctual, physical. That's what DeMeco Ryans likes to do. And then you get Blake Fisher, a little bit of a project tackle, but you do need someone in the long term across from Laramie Tunsil. So I think Blake Fisher is a good pick there. Kalen Bullock, super rangy safety, can go next to Petrie when Petrie moves up and is in that nickel or box. So I love that pick there to help out your back end of your defense. And then you match up Cade Stover with his old college quarterback and CJ Stroud. So I like that. Blocking tight end, also has some receiving upside. So, and then you get to the back end of this draft. Jawar Jordan is a really good pick, I think. Change of change of pace. Running back can give you a little bit of explosiveness. He's a good receiving option as well out of the backfield. Solomon Byrd, edge out of USC, good size. Marcus Harris, Ladarius Henderson in the 7th. Obviously had a tough Senior Bowl, but good amount of experience in college. I think could probably swing in and move to guard and be just fine there. So I love this class for Houston. They went out, addressed some needs, but also got some really good value picks. Don't think I'm going to give this an A minus. I think it'll be a B plus for me for Houston, but they have smashed this 2024 offseason. Now to the Colts. Starting off with the first defensive player off the board in Laiatu Latu, my top defensive player as well. I had him inside the top 10. Laiatu Latu is going to come in and be an instant problem for any offensive line that he is going up against. The dude's pass rush moves are insane. He's got all the nuances. He's got the techniques. He's got the size and athleticism to beat guys around the corner or go back inside. He has it all as a pass rusher. And in a passing league, you need guys that can really get out after the quarterback, and especially in a division with Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud and now Will Levis, you're going to need to get some pressure on the quarterback because that is a tough division to be in right now. And then you get a really good value pick in A.D. Mitchell. And I know people were saying, oh, he does not want to go to the Colts. I think he was just a little more mad that he went so late. He thought he was going to be a first round, missed out on a lot of money. But go prove him wrong, kid. Show him you give 110%, 120% effort on every single play. You want to go out and run block. You'll still run your routes when the ball is not coming to you. Go out and do those things, and you'll be just fine. And he might end up being wide receiver 1 by year's end in Indy. And then they get some offensive line depth in Gonzalez, who's a little bit more of a project tackle, but a solid player for sure. Tanner Bortolini out of Wisconsin, super athletic center, has a lot of really good traits physically when you look at him, and the testing numbers as well. When you look at the, I think it was the 3-cone, he did a lot of things that really good centers in the league do. Guys like Creed Humphrey, now Jason Kelsey, who's recently retired. Guys like that, what they've done at the combine and those athletic testing numbers are really similar. So definitely translatable to the field. So love that pick in the 4th round. I think that's really good value. And then you get down later day 3, Anthony Gold out of Oregon State is going to probably become their return guy. Really good speed, explosive. And then I like this Jalen Simpson pick as well to get some more secondary help. I wish they would have done a little bit more than that, but it is what it is. Jalen Simpson's a solid player out of Auburn. So overall, I would give this class, they got really good value. I'm going to give it an A. I would give this class an A. Really, really good class, really good value, and some instant impact players. 3 AFC South players in a row, and now it's Jacksonville Jaguars. I really like this class too, man. I know I keep saying that, but there's so many good classes. Brian Thomas Jr. to start it off, along with Mason Smith, 2 LSU teammates, and one we'll get to later, and Jordan Jefferson. Brian Thomas, deep threat, wide receiver 1 when he walks into the building in Jacksonville. Finally, you get Trevor Lawrence, a real wide receiver 1, and a guy that can stretch the defense. I think that's so key. This allows guys like Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram to work more one-on-ones underneath. So I think Brian Thomas is going to do more than just catch the ball. He's going to create a lot of attention as well. Mason Smith, maybe a little bit of a project, but my God, the athletic traits and the size, 6'5", I think, 305. Unbelievable size. And you look at the last 6 games that he played this year and how productive he was compared to earlier on in the season. I think that's more of what you're going to get when he plays on a consistent basis, because obviously he's had some injury issues. I think he had an ACL injury, and then he had an ankle problem as well. So, but the potential is sky high for Mason Smith. So I really like that pick in the second round. Jerrion Jones, here's your Darius Williams replacement. I think can play in the slot, maybe can play on the outside, but I think he probably fits better in the slot. Physical, instinctual. I love Jerrion Jones. I love both Florida State corners that came out with him and Renardo Green. And then you get Javon Foster in the 4th. Some more O-line depth for Trevor Lawrence to work with. Thank you. Keep that man upright, please. And then Jordan Jefferson, like I said, you got another defensive tackle from LSU. It's a really solid class. I like Miles Cole in the 7th as well. Super lengthy, 6'6", like 290 pounds. Maybe a little bit of a project, yes, but the potential is really high, and he's got the athleticism. Maybe not a ton of production, but my goodness, the talent, man. They can definitely work with that in Jacksonville. Maybe try to regain the title of Saxonville with a couple of these picks, but I would give this class a B. Obviously, not super, like, I guess, fancy picks or anything like that, but really good depth, really good value for some of these guys like Jerrion Jones, Javon Foster, Miles Cole. So I really like this class from Jacksonville. Kansas City Chiefs. Oh boy. The 2-time defending world champs went out and did it again. They get 4 really good picks in the first 4 rounds. Xavier Worthy to top it off. Field stretcher. Speed. Obviously. Damn, excuse me. And then you get Kingsley Suamataia. A little bit raw, but I think can stick out at tackle. You don't have a lot of tackle depth out there right now. Play him on the right side. I think he's going to be really good in an Andy Reid offense. And then Jared Wiley as well, athletic tight end from TCU. I think could be dangerous in this Kansas City offense. But the defense, Jaden Hicks, Spagnuolo gets a new weapon on the defense. And I'm going to call him a weapon because he can play free safety. He can play over the top. He can also come down and play in the box and be really disruptant in coverage. He can also blitz at a pretty high rate. Obviously, go Cougs. but this is not a bias thing. Jaden Hicks is a very, very talented player, and the Chiefs got really good value there. As for the rest of their draft, good value, good depth in those picks. Overall, though, I would give this probably an A minus for the defending champs. The Los Angeles Chargers. I really like this class for Jim Harbaugh. His first one as the Chargers head coach, obviously, starting with Joe Alt and Ladd McConkey, and then, of course, his old player from Michigan, Junior Colson, along with Cornelius Johnson later in the draft. But the top of this class is awesome. You get Herbert some help in protection and the receiving room. Ladd McConkey can separate with the best of them, and they don't really have that right now if you don't count Josh Palmer, who also has not been able to stay on the field consistently. Quentin Johnston, not quite a separator. I don't know why I said it like that. Separator. He's kind of more of the run after a catch, deep threat. McConkey can come in. He's going to be the slot receiver day one, and he might be Justin Herbert's new favorite target, along with a guy we'll get to. But Junior Colson, athletic, rangy linebacker, my linebacker one. I think that was really good value in the third round. Boygby as well, got some D-line depth. Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still, physical corners, the type of defense that Harbaugh likes to run. And then you look in the 7th, and you're like, Brendan Rice in the 7th. He ran good in the Combine. He looked good in the Senior Bowl. Like, damn, man. It is what it is. I think his production at USC was not a fluke. And I think he could put up not similar numbers, especially with the touchdowns that he scored this year. He scored a lot of touchdowns for USC, but definitely the yards. I think he could be the wide receiver 4 on this team and maybe move up higher if Quentin Johnston doesn't really develop a lot. Like I really like Brendan Rice. I think that's my favorite pick of this class, if you don't count Joe Alt, because I think that was the right pick. Even though it's the 5th overall, you need to protect Justin Herbert at all cost. Chargers have not done that since he got there. So I would give this an A for Jim Harbaugh's first class. The Los Angeles Rams now. Starting off with 2 Florida State guys in Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. Those 2 caused problems in college, and I imagine they're going to cause problems in the pros as well. Power, just power for both of these guys. I mean, Fisk, yes, he doesn't have the long arms that you would want, but plays really, really strong. Same with Jared Verse. Both can play the run really well, and both can get after the passer, which is the name of the game in the NFL right now. Blake Corum was an interesting one. You have Kyron Williams, so I guess he's kind of the same player as Kyron Williams. Maybe not the speed, but he's got really good vision. He can catch out of the backfield. I mean, I guess they're a little bit different, but it was an interesting pick. It was interesting. I think Braylon Allen maybe as a change of pace back could have been a little bit better here, but Sean McVay always has a plan. He does a running back by committee. So with that being said, probably a pretty good pick. Then they get Cam Kitchens in the 3rd, late 3rd, might I add. I think that's a really good pick out of Miami. Ball hawk, instinctual, physical safety is going to be really good in that Rams defense. And then you go to the 5th round. Brennan Jackson, go Cougs, out of Washington State. Did not think he was going to get drafted that high, but he did. I don't have much else to say. I'm just happy for the guy. I think it's awesome. And then you get Tyler Davis with some more depth on the D-line. Jordan Whittington in the 6th was incredible value. Same with Bo Limmer. Like, the Rams did really, really good, and they also addressed a lot of needs in free agency. This draft class, though, is an A. Absolutely. Now to the Raiders, who started off with Brock Bowers, one of the most talented players in this class, but because he plays the tight end position, fell a little bit. They couldn't take a quarterback at 13, so they went with the best player on the board, and yes, he was for sure the best player on the board. Brock Bowers, instant impact type player. I mean, Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, whoever starts, is going to have a lot of fun working with this guy. Oh, this guy, excuse me, can block decently well in the run game, but the receiving game is where he is just different, man. So really like that pick. Jackson Powers Johnson was really good value in the second. Um, Outside of that, though, kind of just meh. I do like Dekamarian Richardson and Dylan Laube from New Hampshire. I like those picks. But kind of outside of the top two picks, just kind of meh for the Raiders. I would probably give this a B minus, C plus maybe. Trey Taylor's good as well, cousin to Ed Reed, I believe. But yeah, B minus, C plus, somewhere in there. Miami Dolphins, I mean, they like their athletes, don't they? You look at it, Chop Robinson, Patrick Paul, Jalen Wright, Malik Washington, Taj Washington. I mean, good Lord. Even Mo Kamara is a pretty solid athlete who's got a ton of power. They said, you know what, our two edge rushers, they get injured a lot. And one of them might not even be playing until later this year with the Achilles injury in Jalen Phillips. Chop Robinson, talk about twitchiness, man. Holy. And then you get some more power with Mo Kamara. So you have some great edge depth, and you can never have enough guys to get after the quarterback. Patrick Paul, project tackle. They went with him in the second round, probably because they knew they wouldn't be able to get him in the fourth. And they continue with the trend of speed. And does speed ever kill for Mike McDaniel? If you've got speed, you might as well just sign the contract to Miami because they have an Olympic track team down there. It is ridiculous. Malik Washington, one of the best slot receivers, I think can play almost instantly. Same with Taj Washington. Both these guys can beat you downfield. They are super shifty. They can get separation. So I like this class. Yes, they maybe didn't get a Christian Wilkins replacement or a Robert Hunt replacement. So that does falter this class a little bit because you could have gotten Mahogany. You could have gotten, I believe, Mason McCormick at a couple picks. I think there was good guards that you could have taken over some of these flashier picks. So I would give this a B, though. They did get some really good players, and I can't go against that. So that a B for Miami. The Minnesota Vikings. This was a pretty solid draft class at the top. J.J. McCarthy, Dallas Turner, Kyrie Jackson, those three picks are awesome, in my opinion. Kyrie Jackson, really good value. Dallas Turner, really good value. But to start with J.J. McCarthy, I just want to say I actually believe in this kid, especially in this Kevin O'Connell offense, where there's a ton of crossers being run. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison get a ton of separation on a consistent basis. McCarthy's going to be just fine in this offense. He'll work out some kinks rookie year. He'll throw interceptions. He'll make mistakes. But McCarthy is surrounded by some really good offensive minds and also really good offensive players. So I think he'll be just fine. Dallas Turner and Kyrie Jackson, though, to flip to the defense, you get Brian Flores, some fantastic players. Turner at 17 is good value. He was, I believe, the third defensive player off the board, second edge rusher. So, I mean, he can do it all. Athletic, explosive, can play the run, can get after the quarterback at a high rate. Love that pick there for the Vikings. Back end of this, kind of meh. Walter Rouse is a bit of a project, but good size at the tackle position. Maybe he even kicks into guard, maybe. But at 6'6", it'd be kind of hard to. Will Reichard's a really good kicker for Alabama. They've had some kicking problems in recent memory, so probably a good get for the Vikings. I'd give this a B+. Yeah. I mean, not anything like spectacular with value or talent, but they got some good players and they got some depth pieces. So I'd give it, B+. The New England Patriots. Wish they would have traded to the Giants. It's okay, though. It's okay. I'm not too butthurt. Just a little bit. They get Drake May, who I think is fantastic. He was my quarterback 2 in this class. They get him at 3, behind Jaden Daniels at 2, who went to Washington, who we'll get to later. And then they go out and get him some weapons. Jalen Polk and Jaheim Bell, maybe even Joe Milton, along with Javon Baker as well, your deep threat. But Jaheim Bell, utility, kind of versatile tight end, maybe plays more of an H-back. Really good receiving upside, though. And Jalen Polk, instantly wide receiver one for me in this offense for the Patriots. He can separate. He can really catch through contact with the best of them. I mean, his hands are like glue. So I think that's going to be a really good option for Drake May. And then, like I said, Baker, your deep threat. You got Demario Douglas in the slot, and maybe even Juju mixed in there as well. Kendrick Bourne, veteran receiver. So I like the weapons that they got from May, and they also got him some protection in Caden Wallace and Layden Robinson. Both still a little bit raw and inconsistent, but can definitely work with that. Joe Milton was a little bit of a questionable pick, but I mean, like I said, he might switch to tight end. I really don't know if they view him as a quarterback, but we'll see. Obviously, he's got a huge arm, but so does Drake May, and Drake May a lot more polished, a lot higher upside in my opinion. So I think the Patriots nailed this. I think this is an A- class. The New Orleans Saints didn't have a lot of picks in the top 100. Had a lot of late day 3 picks that I think they did really good with. But to start off with Fuaga and McKinstry, I think is awesome. Fuaga, you needed a tackle across from Ramczyk or to replace Ramczyk. And I think you get that in Fuaga. McKinstry, one of the smartest players in the draft, mirrors so well in man and zone coverage. Would love to see him play a little more instinctual and aggressive, but I can't fault him for being a really smart player. Spencer Rattler in the 5th, I think is actually good value, but do you let him? I think you got to let him go after Derek Carr this offseason. I think you have to. Why not? The only thing is he is 6 foot. So you'll have to deal with that a little bit. Bub Means out of Pittsburgh, speed to say the least. I do like him. And then I like this Christian Boyd pick in the 6th round. Got some late hype in the draft process. Maybe a Cam Jordan replacement. But I would say this is probably a B for me. Not a ton of picks in the top 100, but did good with value in day 3. Now to my New York Giants, who you've already heard. I wish they would have gotten Christian Mahogany, but what they did do was go out and get some positions of need and some good talent at those. They get Malik Neighbors, Tyler Nubin with their first 2 picks. Malik Neighbors, obviously, run after the catch. It's just unreal what he can do with the ball in his hands. He's going to be a good separator as well. He's already got some route running to his game. Could work on it a little bit more for sure. 3-level threat, though, if you play 2K, is Malik Neighbors. But we're not playing basketball. Tyler Nubin, ball hawking safety. Yes, not the most athletic guy, but production does not lie. The film does not lie. He's got good ball skills. He plays instinctual. He can come down and play in the box. Love that pick for the Giants. And then Andrew Phillips out of Kentucky. Probably going to be a slot corner. You could definitely play him on the outside, but thank God that Joe Shane and Brian Dable got this team some more secondary depth with these 2 picks. Andrew Phillips, obviously, really good athlete, instinctual, really plays aggressive and off coverage, like they say right here, in that zone type of coverage. And then Theo Johnson as well out of Penn State. Possible Darren Waller replacement. I don't know if he'll be around past this year. He might not even be around this year. So that's going to be an interesting development. But if Darren Waller does stay, Theo Johnson can work behind and learn from one of the best tight ends in the past 5 years in Darren Waller. Tyrone Tracy, I think, is a good change of pace back. He'll be a good special teamer for us. Probably takes Gary Brightwell's job on this team. I would imagine Gary Brightwell probably gets cut. Unfortunately, I love GB, but Tyrone Tracy's coming for your spot, and he's a little bit more explosive than you. And then Darius Muasau out of UCLA, probably the same thing. Special teamer, depth in the linebacker room. Not much more than that. I didn't really like what I saw in his tape. He's a little bit slow, not too reactive. I really wish that pick was Christian Mahogany. I think we could have used more interior O-line depth. Could have come back to bite us, but I think this class is a B+. Top heavy for sure with talent, but think we could have done better in the later rounds. To our neighbors, the New York Jets. I think they did really good. They got my favorite player in the entire draft in Malachi Corley in the 3rd round. I freaking love this guy. When he gets the ball in his hands, he is powerful. Contact balance is unreal. He's basically a running back out there. The Deebo Samuel comparisons are legit. And then you go out and get Braylon Allen as well. And these two are going to break more. These two and Breece Hall, man. Think of how many tackles these Jets skill position players are going to break this year. Watch out. My goodness. And then also Olu Fashanu to protect Aaron Rodgers and be your tackle of the future. I think they finally locked that down here with Fashanu. Really good pass protector. And obviously they're going to pass the ball a lot with Aaron Rodgers back there at quarterback this year. Jordan Travis, got your new backup quarterback on a cheap deal. Really good leader, obviously, at Florida State. Has a good enough arm to be in the NFL. I think will be a really good backup quarterback in the league. I also like this Quantez Stiggers pick. He's aggressive. Obviously, probably a lot of people don't know a ton about him. He was at the East-West Shrine Bowl, and he looked good as well. I like that pick, man. I like seeing these CFL guys come over here. It's pretty cool. But he's got good ball skills, plays with good instincts, like I said. I think he'll fit in pretty well in that Robert Saleh defense. And then Jalen Key, Mr. Irrelevant this year. We'll see what he can do. But I like this class. I think this is also a B+ class for me. So the two New York teams do pretty well. To another team that I hate to admit had yet another good draft class, the Philadelphia goddamn Eagles. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean to start things off is unbelievable. Two guys who should have went in the first round, and they get one of them in the second in DeJean, who can also play safety, can play in the nickel, can play outside corner. I mean, they got their two corners of the future, I think, in this draft to replace Darius Slay and James Bradbury, and maybe even Avonte Maddox if Cooper DeJean slots or slides into the slot position. They get some edge help with Jalix Hunt, who is a really good athlete, to say the least. He's also got good size, 6'4", 252. Can line up all across your defensive line, I think, and be pretty effective wherever he lines up. You got Will Shipley and Anais Smith as well. So Will Shipley, probably your backup running back for Saquon Barkley. Change of pace. Also a really solid receiver out of the backfield. Anais Smith, probably going to be your returner, but I think is a good pick in the 5th. Can be a good slot receiver in the NFL. Trotter, that was a cool pick to see Philly, who drafted his dad as well, draft him. So that was pretty cool. I'll give you that, Howie Roseman, but still, stop drafting well. And then Johnny Wilson is where we're going to wrap things up with this class. I don't know if they view him as a tight end or a receiver, but he's a mismatch wherever he lines up at 6'7" or 6'6", sorry. Really big frame. Yeah, they even say it there, built more like a tight end. Don't love the separation, like they also say. He's not that great at the nuances of route running. Kind of just a red zone threat, but you need those types of guys on your team. Gives Jalen Hurts a few more options down in the red zone. But this class is good. It really is, especially the top end of it. This is an A- for me for Philly. And maybe one of the only teams I'm going to give an A+ is going to be Pittsburgh before we even get into it. Troy Fautanu and Zach Frazier to start things off. You shore up that offensive line. You have Broderick Jones already there. Fautanu can come in and play opposite of him. Zach Frazier should be a day one starter at center, or maybe you view him as a guard. I think he could do either or just fine. And then you get Roman Wilson to be your slot guy on the inside of George Pickens, Really, really good player. Shifty, creates a ton of separation, and also creates quite a few yards after the catch. So I think that's a really good pick in the third round, along with Peyton Wilson, linebacker out of NC State. Super good athlete. Maybe doesn't move horizontally as well enough anymore because of the ACL injury, but he's still a really good player. He plays really downhill, plays instinctual, and can cover. He definitely can cover running backs out of the backfield and tight ends as well. Mason McCormick, you get a high upside guard, 4-year starter at South Dakota State, really solid player. And then Logan Lee, good depth in the D-line room now with him. It's just a solid player. And then Ryan Watts, big physical corner at 6'3". You could also or now you have him, across from Joey Porter, who's also 6'2". So you got some big ass corners up in Pittsburgh. This class is awesome. I already said it was an A+. It's going to remain an A+. This is a fantastic draft class from Pittsburgh. The Seattle Seahawks started off with Byron Murphy out of Texas, the defensive tackle. Like I said before the draft, I don't think they should allow Leonard Williams to stop them from taking a Jerzon Newton or Byron Murphy, and it did not. Byron Murphy, first-round pick for them, and it was a really good pick. Only second player off the board, but super high upside. He has great ability to win the leverage battle consistently. Yes, a little undersized. The arms aren't too long, but oh my goodness, dude. He lives in the backfield. Awesome player. Christian Haynes, another guy I wish the Giants would have gotten. I know I keep saying that, but sorry, the fan comes out of me. Really good value in the third round, I think, is going to be a plug-and-play day one starter. Super good run blocker. Also showed ability to be a really good pass blocker at the Senior Bowl, but in the run game, he is a just mauler on the interior. A.J. Barner it just kind of felt like a Seahawks pick. Good blocking tight end, has a little bit of receiving ability. Nehemiah Pritchett and DJ James. DJ James probably your slot corner. Maybe you think Nehemiah Pritchett can play safety to replace Jamal Adams or Diggs. So this is a solid class. You also get the guard Lamia out of Utah, who's got some upside. So you shore up the interior of that offensive line, which is what you needed to do. So I really like this class. I would probably give it a B. There are some questionable picks in here, but you got some really good value in Christian Haynes and Byron Murphy only being the second defensive player off the board. So good class overall. Nothing spectacular, though. San Francisco 49ers, obviously, they started with Ricky Pearsall, who a lot of people were surprised with. But, man, can he separate, and he's got some of the best hands in this class. If you haven't seen this play, go check it out. I imagine you probably have, though. I love Ricky Pearsall. I didn't think he would go in the first round. But, hey, Kyle Shanahan is going to scheme this guy open, and he can also get himself open. He's got really good route running ability, really good hands, like I said. And then Renardo Green on this defense. This defense loves to play aggressive. They needed someone across from Charvarius Ward. You get it in Renardo Green. Physical corner, lengthy. He's got some good deep speed. I like that pick. And then Dominic Pooney, who probably kicks into guard. Maybe you play him at tackle. I think he's better suited at guard. But a really good player for the Niners to get on a offensive line that definitely struggled late in the season. Malik Mustafa out of Wake Forest was a really good pick. Jimmy Ward, obviously, I think left for Houston last year. So you didn't really have a lot of depth on your back end. Once Hufunga went down, Mustafa gives you that depth. Isaac Garendo for Shanahan to work with, as well as your new backup running back, is kind of scary. Really good athlete. Not a ton of production at Louisville, but definitely flashed some good potential. Jacob Cowing, another solid slot receiver, um, can separate as well. Really good with the ball in his hands. Um, yeah, 5'8", 170. He's gonna be slot only. Kingston and Bethune for some depth at interior line and linebacker. So yeah, not a flashy class, but some good picks. I would probably give this a B minus. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they help out uh, Baker Mayfield. Sorry, almost forgot his name. Get Graham Barton out of Duke. They have him listed as center. He could play basically anywhere you want him, though. Shorter arms, so he's probably going to stick to the interior, but showed ability to play out at tackle, showed ability to play at guard, has taken center snaps. This dude can do it all for you. Is going to be a day one starter. Obviously, Ryan Jensen left, retired, so you needed to replace him, and you got a pretty good guy to replace him in Graham Barton. And then second and third round, you get some defense with Chris Braswell and Tyke Smith. Tyke Smith, going to be that nickel corner, and also safety on the back end, but I think can definitely play really good. And with a lot of these slot guys, he's got good quickness. Chris Braswell, though, really good power pass rusher, can play the run pretty well as well. And then Jalen McMillan. I know they have Trey Palmer there, so to me it's a little bit confusing, but you can never have enough wide receivers. You never know when one of these guys are going to get injured. Jalen McMillan is really, really talented and can play in Trey Palmer's role pretty well if he ever goes down, or even Chris Godwin for that matter. Day 3, Bucky Irving and Devin Culp are the only two guys that really stand out for me. Elijah Klein's just a depth piece on the interior. Bucky Irving, change of pace to Rashad White. Really twitchy, shifty back, receiving upside. Probably fell only because of his size at 5'9", I believe. Yeah, 5'9", 190, but I think could be really, really effective out of the backfield. And Devin Culp, athletic tight end, is not going to be a great blocker for you, but you already have a decent UW blocker actually at the tight end position in Cade Otton. So now you get the receiving side in Devin Culp. This is a solid class. Nothing flashy, really. You just get some good value in guys like Tyke Smith, McMillan, Irvin. So I would probably give this just a solid B. Tennessee Titans. They obviously, with their first pick, went out and protected Will Levis. Bro got literally put into a human pretzel position last year, so you needed to do that. And Latham, Mauler in the run game, needs to clean up the oversetting in the pass pro. But I mean, the dude's got all the talent in the world to do so. You just need to help him out a little bit. But Brian Callahan obviously is not going to make the same mistake as his previous head coach did make for the past however long in Cincinnati. He said, look, we don't got a ton of offensive line talent. Let's go out and get one of the most talented offensive linemen in this class in J.C. Latham. I accidentally opened a new tab. Oh, no. I messed everything up. Hold on. There we go. All right. But yeah, like I said, he's all in the run game. Super, super athletic tackle. Lot of upside to him as well. T'Vondre Sweat was really interesting. I did not bet on him going above Johnny Newton or Chris Jenkins, but he did, especially after the DWI. Maybe they just thought, look, we don't got a third-round pick. This is who it would be. Best player on the board for us. Let's go to T'Vondre Sweat. Little bit questionable because I don't think he has a ton of pass rushing upside, but obviously in the run game, he is a body. Takes up 2-3 blocks by himself. Super, super big disruptor in the run game. So there definitely is some value to that. Cedric Gray, I really liked in the 4th to start things off for them day 3, along with Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who is a pretty physical and athletic corner, I would say, even though he is a little bit undersized. Jaquan Jackson in your new slot receiver, playing inside of Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins now. Also has some special teams ability. That return ability is very, very valuable for these teams, and Jaquan Jackson definitely brings that. James Williams, listed at safety, will probably drop into the linebacker position or at least just be a box safety in dime packages. Big athletic guy, but has not shown consistent coverage ability to be back at safety. So I like this class. I don't think it's the greatest class, though. Tavondre Sweat is kind of a turnoff here, especially in the 2nd round when you didn't have a 3rd round pick. I think there was better value. Like, imagine if you put Johnny Newton next to Justin Simmons, man. Oh, my. Or Chris Jenkins, one of the two. Like, come on. But you know what? I'm not an NFL evaluator, and this is why. But I would give this probably a C+. The Washington Commanders. Everyone got better around the Giants. Giants got better too, but man, the NFC East had some really good draft classes. To start off with Jaden Daniels and Jerzon Newton, obviously. Oh, wait. Yeah, you can call me an idiot. I thought Johnny Newton went after Tavondre Sweat. He did not. So literally disregard everything I just said, but they still could have taken Chris Jenkins or Braden Fisk over. So don't kill me too much. But Jaden Daniels and Johnny Newton to start off this class is awesome. I know they have Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen there, but they aren't going to be there forever. And depending on the defense that they run, those 3 might be out there every single play. And they can all get after the quarterback. They can all play the run. And you can't double team them either. Like, if this is going to be a 3-4 defense, I think Jerzon Newton and with Daron Payne in the middle and then Jonathan Allen at the other defensive end position is a possibility. Like, you could run those 3 out there and they would create some serious havoc. But then you look at Mike Sainristil. Yes, they drafted Quan Martin last year. I still think he can play safety. Sainristil is so awesome, dude. He's a great leader in the locker room. Physical in the slot guarding these guys. He's got good lateral movement and short area quickness. So I do think that's a good pick. Ben Sinnott, I did not expect to be the 2nd tight end off the board, but he does have good receiving upside and also has shown that he's a really good blocker in the run game. So that does bring in a lot of value to what he can do as a tight end. Luke McCaffrey was surprising for a lot of people. They didn't have him in the top 100, but McCaffrey can separate. I think he can also be their wide receiver 3 going into this year behind McLaurin and Dotson. Obviously, they lost Curtis Samuel, so they needed to replace him with someone, and they replaced him with a guy that has inside-out flexibility in Luke McCaffrey. Jordan McGee out of Temple, I think, is a solid depth pick at linebacker. Dominique Hampton, athletic safety out of UW. Really solid player. They needed some guys on the back end after they lost Cam Curl, and Derek Forrest is nothing too special. So I like this class for Washington. They got their franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Probably could have gotten a little bit more to protect him, but nonetheless, he's so athletic and just speedy that he can get out of the pocket and improvise and do his thing. Just make sure he doesn't take too many hits because Washington gave up a lot of sacks. And I know they added Biotish in the offseason when Dan Quinn came over, but just make sure he doesn't take too many hits because he's going to be a really special player if he doesn't. But overall, I think I would give this class a B+, maybe an A- actually. So, but that will do it for draft grades. Yes, a little bit of a longer video. A lot of talking. I'm going to need to go get some water, bro. I am parched, to say the least. Definitely parched. I need to quench my thirst. But this draft was so fun. So many good draft classes, I think. I think Pittsburgh had the best out of anyone, in my opinion. Um, what they did and the value that they got for these guys was awesome. Um, but also go Giants. No, I'm playing. But not really. But I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of what your teams drafted and their grades in the comments down below. There'll be probably one or two more draft videos. It'll probably be the best or biggest steals in the draft and maybe biggest reaches or something like that. The steals one will definitely be on the way though. So hope you guys enjoy, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take it easy and peace.